Yeah, the big shock of the weekend. It was the best game on paper for Sunday in a weekend that where Thursday night had the electric game between the Rams and the Seahawks. Saturday had the big game with the Packers and the Bears. Philip Rivers was starting on Monday night. Sunday, there was really only one game that was huge of note, and that was this one, Jacksonville and the Denver Broncos. And it was the shock, I would argue, of the weekend, even with the incredible games we had in Seattle and Chicago. Jacksonville goes on the road and they beat the Denver Broncos and they control a lot of their destiny going forward. Jacksonville is controls their destiny entirely to win the AFC South. If they were to win out, they will win the AFC South. And if Houston wins out and Jacksonville stumbles against Indianapolis or the Titans, then it'll be Houston. But Jacksonville pretty much controls their destiny towards potentially at worst the 3 seed, but maybe the 2 seed if Los Angeles, the Chargers, were able to beat the Broncos in Week 18. And so everything has changed very, very quickly. And that's what something I love about the NFL is that the seasons and the outlooks change dramatically with a week to week. 3 weeks ago, the Cowboys beat the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden it's, oh, okay, the Cowboys might make a run at this thing. If they're in the playoffs, they're dangerous. Well, also 3 weeks ago, no one was talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those have completely flipped on their head. Dallas is eliminated. Jacksonville is in line for the 2 seed or 3 seed. And the way that they did it was truly, truly impressive. They scored 34 points on the Denver Broncos. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 5 times in this game, so they weren't able to protect him. But he goes for 279. He has 3 touchdowns. He doesn't turn the ball over. They only rushed for 81 yards. Parker Washington was unbelievable in this game. He goes 6 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown. He has a couple big returns as well. Jacoby Myers, the trade from Las Vegas, 4 catches for 45 yards. Denver, on the other hand, it's just like it's critical moments, it's critical mistakes. It's third down, and you don't notice that Jacksonville is clearly false started, and instead you blitz right off the edge. And because the stadium is so damn loud, you can't hear the whistle, and you spear Trevor Lawrence in the back. And because it was technically after the play, the false start that would have made 3rd and 6, 3rd and 11 is a first down because of a personal foul by Denver, and Jacksonville scores on that drive. It's bonehead mistakes like that that really cost them in this game because Jacksonville starts out the way Denver would want. They go 3-and-out on their first 2 drives, and then finally they're able to turn it around. They score a touchdown drive, end up scoring 17 going to the half. They have the lead. I think turning point in the game is the way Jacksonville started the second half, and it was purely dominant. Denver goes out, ties the game at 17. All start the second half, and then these are the 3 drives for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, against this Denver defense on the road. 9 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 4 plays, 80 yards, touchdown, and a field goal after Denver has a fumble. I have a really critical stat. So this is in the past. Denver had won 12 straight games at home under Bo Nix and Sean Payton. In those 12 games, this was the opposing quarterback at Denver. They were, of course, 0-12. They threw for they had total yards, not just throw. Total yards was 226. Their touchdown to turnover ratio, that includes fumbles and interceptions, was 13-16 and a passer rating of 69. Trevor and the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday, he had 300 total yards. He had 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 115 passer rating. It was an unbelievable performance from Jacksonville. And Trevor Lawrence, it puts him kind of back on the map and kind of in the conversation of, oh, is he one of those quarterbacks in the AFC once again with the way that he's played the past 6 weeks? And really all eyes kind of turn towards their playoff game and how they respond in that moment because what's really funny is with the way that these kind of 3 or 4 weeks have kind of transpired in the AFC right now, if I had to tell you what the AFC playoff picture is, it's looking like, and this is with the Chargers beating the Denver Broncos in Week 18, New England is the 1 seed, and that means Jacksonville host the Texans. I That's a scary matchup with the way Houston's playing defensively. The Chargers host the Broncos, and Pittsburgh hosts Buffalo. That's three really interesting teams that are wild card teams. And so I think all eyes turn towards their playoff game. What I will say for Jacksonville, though, before we talk on the Denver Broncos, is I am really, really scared for this Sunday because this Sunday they go to Indianapolis. And if there's anything I've known from Jacksonville the past 3 years watching them, and that's under three different head coaches, is that they're not unsusceptible to just stumbling and falling on their butt when everything's in front of them. They were 9-3 at one point 2 years ago. They finished 9-8. They missed the playoffs. They are very susceptible to stumbling, and so I hope they take full focus into this game, like they have in other big games this year against the Indianapolis Colts, and don't go out and lose to 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. That cannot happen, because if that happens, the AFC South is all in question. The playoffs are not in question, but the AFC South is in question, and very quickly you're going on the road in the first round. Did you catch any of this game, Sanders?
No, I did not. But I'll go ahead and take Jack's part here and talk about the Broncos defense giving up 34
Sure.
and how overrated they are. Um, Something that since he's not here and you are not as much a Broncos hater and questioner as he is, I'll do my best to kind of share some of his sentiments about the underperformance. But back to me after that Jack rant real quick about how overrated the Broncos are. It's kind of funny because it almost feels like the Broncos looked at their schedule beforehand and were like, all right, here are the teams that are going to be good in 2025. Let's have our best games against them. You hold the Bengals to 3 points, right? You beat the Eagles, hold them to 17 points. You beat the Cowboys. The offense shows up for that game. Hold the Texans to 15 points. I think the Texans were AFC South favorites coming into the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beat the Chiefs. You hold them to 19 points. It's just funny because no one told you or told the Broncos that this is not going to be what you expected from 2025. You give up 32 points to the Giants. The Giants were they just drafted a quarterback. They were expected to finish last in the NFC East, I believe. Just funny stuff like that. You give up 26 points to the Commanders, and you give up 17 to the Raiders, 34 to the Jaguars, who were not supposed to be in contention for the 1 seed. Just really kind of ironic that it feels like the Broncos have shown up against in important games. I mean, that the Kansas City game was very important, and every win they've gotten has been an important game. That Eagles game they got the win in was a huge and very important game, but it just feels like a very odd season from the Broncos and the way that defense is played. But I'm certainly not gonna give up on it. I still think it's a top five. It's a top quarter defense. It's top eight defense, and certainly they have their lapses in some games, but also sometimes you just run into a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who I'm not high on Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to buy into your question earlier about, well, was this his game where he kind of establishes himself as one of those guys in the AFC? I still don't think so. I think he's like Bryce Young in that we've seen those highs and lows from him. I think the floor is higher from Bryce Young, but I think we see some doo-doo games from him, or I think there's just not enough consistency. We don't see him play this game consistently enough for me to believe that yet. And he's at the point in his career where it kind of starts to become hard to believe that he's going to learn or he's going to develop that consistency, that he's going to become a Josh Allen or not Justin Herbert. I'm not going to do that to you, but one of those guys who game in, game out can be the guy who's going to go get you the win. He can do it, but I don't think you can count on him to do that yet.
I think for him, what has cost him has been just situations around him. Urban Meyer, the first year. His second year, they make the playoffs. They win a playoff game. They're competitive with Kansas City. His third year, he gets hurt late in the year, and he was never the same with his ankle injury. that he had on Monday Night Football. And then last year, he was hurt much of that year as well. And so he's now, I feel like he's finally healthy and he's playing a lot better because he is finally healthy. But I don't necessarily disagree that he is susceptible to bad games. That being said, he's not Bryce Young. He's much better than
Yes,
Bryce
yes,
Young.
that was not intended to be a
Just
dig.
he has just 4 Bryce Young games this year, compared to Bryce Young. I think he has 9 now. Which shout out 9, JJ McCarthy. I Lawrence is projected to at this point be a 4,000-yard passer. He's going to have 29 touchdowns, 12 picks, give or take. I think you look at the playoff picture, and who are you going? I know my answer because I know what I believe in, and that's playoff wins and playoff experience. You look at the playoff picture, it's okay. C.J. Stroud, he's won 2 playoff games. Josh Allen, who's won playoff games before, but other than that, it's okay. Is 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers going to turn back the clock and win a Super Bowl? I don't know. But you have Justin Herbert, who hasn't won a playoff game, and you've beat him. You just beat Bo Nix in Denver on the road, and they haven't won a playoff game. And Drake May and the Patriots, if they're the 1 seed, they've never won a playoff game either. And we'll talk about them in just a second. But I think they have to feel like you have to have a ton of confidence. The only thing that's going to hold them back is I wonder if they'll have the playmakers because Travis Hunter isn't there, because Brian Thomas hasn't been great. Like for Parker Washington to go for 145 yards, I don't think that's repeatable and sustainable. They're going to have to continue to turn over the football like they have this year. And then how will Liam Cohen handle a playoff game in a playoff environment? How will he play call in a playoff game in a playoff environment? He's done that in Tampa Bay. They've been to playoff games before, and they've won playoff games in Tampa Bay, but now it's different because you're a head coach. On the Denver Broncos side, like you were saying, Jack would then come back and very quickly say, okay, I was right. They are frauds. They're not as good as you may think. They still control their destiny to the 1 seed. Went out. They're the number 1 overall seed. And for me, that's the only thing I think that matters. If they're the 1 seed, it's going to be really hard to go win at Denver in a playoff game. Now, it just literally happened on Sunday in what was kind of a pseudo playoff game against the Jaguars. But I think with the bye, they get the week off to prepare for that first team. And then if they're able to win that game, the AFC Championship is their second game in 2 weeks versus another team's 4th game in 4 weeks. Because you have the end of the season, wild card round, divisional round, championship game. So maybe they're better rested. So I think they got to get the 1 seed, which means they got to win in Kansas City on Christmas. You can't stumble there against, I don't know if they're going to start Oludekin or Buchler from the Bills. It'll be one of those 2 guys. But it's 2 names that no one has ever heard of except for me and the diehard NFL fans that just know way too much. And then week 18. If they have to handle the Chargers. That's going to be the playoff game. It may end up being a Sunday Night Football game because it'll decide the division. Early thoughts? Do you trust your Chargers in that game
See,
going forward?
I think that I don't know why, but I feel like the Chargers are the one team I'm a fan of that I cheer like you do, very pessimistically and like realistically. There's very little like over enthusiasm. I still just don't see this offensive line as fantastic as Justin Herbert is, and I don't see how you can watch him and what he's doing and still be like, but he doesn't win a playoff game. Like the dude is incredible. But that offensive line,
But he hasn't been incredible in the playoffs.
yeah, yeah. Small sample size, 2 games. I don't think that's not a super large sample size, and we're gonna get another one this year, and that's one that hopefully he can get a win there and kind of get that off his back. But yeah, I'd say I'm maybe becoming cautiously optimistic. Omarion Hampton back is big.
Yeah.
As just somebody who loves the draft and loves seeing young guys develop. That's somebody who I really and somebody I liked a lot. Somebody who I said was closer to Ashton Genty than he was to anybody, or he was closer to Ashton Genty than he was to anybody below him. So a guy that I liked a lot and love seeing him healthy and playing now. So yeah, cautiously optimistic. But we shall see how that plays out. I still think they've got the 49ers. Is that right? No.
Chargers host the Texans on
Texans,
Saturday.
thank you. A different game. We're previewing both those games, so I got them mixed up.